Titeman was already there when he arrived, and Alton cursed himself for having wasted so much time pacing the battlements in the name of timidity. Nipper was nowhere to be seen, and Kettle was busy looking busy in the presence of her ancient master. Little Perny was sweeping ineffectually around the hearth, but she looked up and, with no pig-butchering to distract her this time, saw that Alton had come in. She grinned excitedly. "Hello, Master Alton," she said, beaming at him like a tiny tow-headed son. "I saw a lizard already today, out on the well, but he was still stiff with cold when I tried to wake him. He wouldn't move at all, no matter how many times I poked him, and I did a lot because he fell into the well and still never moved all the way down. I hope he'll be okay, but I don't know if lizards can swim or not. But he was green, just like Sir's dragon. You should have seen him." Alton rolled his eyes. "That's nice," he said, and quickly turned towards Titeman. "Perny, hush," Kettle admonished the child. "Them's got business to talk. No time for silliness." "Oh, I don't know," said Titeman, furrowing his brow at Alton briefly before leaning to peek around him towards the girl. "Lizards can be serious business, too." He stood and stepped around Alton, fixing Perny with a grin. With a few words and the wriggling of his thumbs, he created a bright, illusionary lizard on the ground between his feet. "Did it look like this?" he asked. He sent the illusion scurrying across the floor towards Perny, who screeched with glee and leapt for it, pouncing like a cat. Her hands clutched right through it, at which point it disappeared, causing her to spin round and round like a kitten chasing its tail, searching everywhere, giggling, and even lifting Kettle's skirts to have a look between the woman's feet. Kettle gasped and pushed the child away, though she couldn't help but laugh. Giving up, Perny looked back at the old mage, wonder in her eyes, and still giggling for all her worth. His grin grew. Extending his hand, he reproduced the illusion there on his palm, allowing it to rise and float slowly through the air towards her again, dangling as if invisible fingers held it by the tail. Seeing this, she became nearly hysterical with laughter again, and peals of high-pitched merriment echoed through Calico Castle's labyrinthian halls as she jumped for the wriggling fiction, while Titeman teased her, bobbing it up and down and keeping it just beyond her reach. After a few moments of this, Titeman relented, but right as the magical lizard was finally within her grasp, it burst into a pink cloud of rose petals, real ones, that rained down upon her for nearly half a minute. Somehow she managed to squeal even louder than before, and she danced about in the shower of flowers, trying to catch all the petals as they fell. Alton winced at her jubilant screams, closing one eye and marveling that none of the crystal goblets on the shelf behind him ruptured with the piercing shrill of Perny's noise. By the gods, that child was obnoxious, and Titeman was bringing it on, making it even worse. You'd think he knew better by now. "Perny," scolded Kettle finally, clutching at her ears. "You'll bring the orcs down out of the hills with all that racket." She turned to Titeman and added, "And you're encouraging her with all that fancy stuff." Kettle's smiling eyes did not reflect the nature of her words, however, and Titeman only continued to grin. When the petals finally stopped falling, Kettle handed Perny the egg basket and pushed her out the door in the direction of the chicken coop. The child began to protest, but a look from Kettle choked the words before they could get out. "That's enough lizards and flowers for one morning, thank you. Get you busy now." Kettle turned, curtsied to them both, and followed the girl outside.